Hi, this is Tegan. I'm here with Jacob's Trading, and this is Lydia. If you haven't heard of us before, make sure you check out the description, and that will lead you to our website for more information. Today we're going to be talking about how to make a basic wire wrap ring with a singular bead. Let's get started.
Okay, so this is the type of ring we're going to be making today. It's our most basic introductory ring. I find they're really simple and easy to start with, so if you're just getting into ring making, this is the video for you. We're going to be working with some enamel-coated copper wire, a singular bead that is 8 millimeters in size, and a few different tools. Let's get started. Okay, so for today we're going to be using 0.6 millimeter or 22 gauge wire. If you want, you can go in a thicker size. That would be better. I wouldn't go any smaller. If you go any thinner than the wire that we're currently using, your rings might be easily squishable, and you don't really want that. So I would recommend if you want, you can go higher, but I wouldn't go lower. If you're unfamiliar with gauge size of wire, if you check out the description, I do have a video that will cover that for you. So the other items we're going to be using today is a ring mandrel. We're also going to use some side cutter snips, some flat nose pliers, some 8 millimeter beads. This can be any kind of bead of your choice. I have here a yellow agate and that wire. Okay, we're going to start by cutting our wire in about 14 inches in length. This length can vary depending on what you're doing, depending on how much wire you want to wrap around that bead. So you're going to have to play with it to see how long you want it to be. But start out with what I did, which is about 14 inches, and then you can play from there. We're going to start by folding that wire in half. So you're going to find the two ends, match them up. It doesn't have to be perfect for this ring, but I like to try and get them straight-ish. And then we're going to pull at the other end. So we have the middle. We're going to take that bead. I'm going to put that on one end. So I like to have that middle, but then you have to kind of straighten it out to be able to get that bead in the center. And then we're going to push the wire down on the edges. So you'll notice I'm kind of using both sides to really get it flat and flush on the edges. So you kind of have to push it down. Sometimes you use your nail or maybe another tool. You're going to get it nice and straight down those edges, so it's as flush as you can get right on the sides of the bead. Next, we're going to start on that ring mandrel. So you have to decide what size of a ring you want to make. We're going to make a size 7. With this style of ring, typically I find it works best to start about half a size down. So we're going to actually start at that 6.5 size. This way, when we're done our ring, we can stretch it up a bit to get it perfect right on that size 7. So we're going to take that wire and we're putting it on the mandrel right over top of that size 6.5. And we're going to fold it over. So now I have the wire underneath. We're going to take the one that's underneath my thumb. So I'm holding both sides with one hand, my thumb and my index finger, just so it stays in place. I'm going to take the wire that's under my thumb and it's going to go under the ring. Now taking the wire that's under my index finger, and it's also going underneath the ring mandrel. So I have both wires, so you can see I have one going one way, one going the other way. Now we're going to transfer those up to the top. So they've both just gone halfway underneath. And we're going to carry on down through. So now we have 2 wires on each side. Now we're going to begin wrapping it around the bead like we had on these guys. So we're going to go around in a circle like this. Always make sure you're double checking that your ring is still in the right spot. As if you ever let go as you do, it will tend to sometimes move around. So make sure you're always checking that you're still on that 6.5, which is where I am. It might be different for you. So right now what I'm doing is I'm holding onto that bead and I'm using my other hand to pull tight on that wire on each side just to make sure it's still nice and snug. And now I'm going to begin to wrap around. So I'm going to try and not get my finger in the way here, but I need to hold it down. So I'm going to hold that index finger and I'm going to pull this around the bead. So I did one side. Now I'm going to turn it around. Now we're going to do the other side. Check your size again. Pull snug. Normally I'd have my finger up here, but I'm going to try and hold it out of the way. So we're going to pull snug and wrap it around. So that's kind of the first one that you do. You want it to try and be nice and snug on that first wrap that you do. Now the rest of them are more decorative after that. So we're going to continue taking turns on each side, wrapping it back and forth. So you're just going to keep folding those around in a circle until you either use up the wire or get kind of the desired effect that you like. I try and kind of cover those side wires that we had going out. So I'm just going to continue to wrap those around. You can check and see. I tend to find these rings look best with just letting the wire fall where it will. You don't necessarily have to try and place it in specific spots. Just gently wrap it around. So once you have it all wrapped around, you want to leave yourself a tail. Now we can take the ring off of the mandrel. Put that aside. Now we're going to finish it off by using these little ends to affix everything together so your ring can't come undone. So we're going to start with one side, and I'm going to kind of twist it almost as I go because it tends to almost try and undo a hair. So I'm going to keep that nice and snug by pushing it in. So I have my index finger pushing in, and then I'm going to wrap underneath with my thumb, pushing that around so it kind of creates a little hook around. And then I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing. So I'm pushing in with my index finger, down and under with my thumb. We have that now on each side. Now we're going to use those tools that I said earlier. We're going to grab those flat nose pliers. So this wire that I wrapped around, it kind of is more of like a curve as opposed to nice and tight around this wire. So what I'm going to do is take my flat nose and just kind of gently tap it up. When you're working with enamel coated copper, I find it can mar or scratch easily, so just be careful with your tool when you're doing this that you don't really gouge it, so just be gentle. Copper wire is pretty soft, so you don't have to put too much pressure. Now I like to use the tool to actually pull it over, so I'm just going to pull that down, same thing. So every time you do a half a turn, use that tool to kind of tap it in place. Otherwise it tends to be kind of wide and it might move up and down. So the whole point is to kind of almost pinch it like a crimp just to keep it in one spot. So I did one over on that side. Now we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to tap that first turn in place, grab, pull over, pinch it down. So each side now has kind of one full circle. We're going to do kind of one more half a way around. So under, tap, and over. You can use up this wire all the way if you want. I tend to just like to do kind of like have 3 little swirls on the top and cut it off. So this is now on the top, so we're going to cut that down and just push down this little piece of wire. I tend to try to get this wire to land on the top as opposed to the bottom, just because when you're wearing it that might be kind of scratchy on the other side. So I try and get it on the top and it's less pokey. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to go underneath once more, tap that down, half turn on the top, clip off the excess, tap that down. And that completes your sides. Sometimes as you're working with your ring, it might get a little bent out of shape. So that's why we're going to go back to the mandrel and actually now stretch up the ring a little bit, which is why we started about half a size smaller. So you can see if I really push it on, it gets close to that 6.5 mark, which is where we started. But the wire is a little bit stretchy, so I kind of roll it around in a circle, and that gets my shape back to that nice round, and it also then gets us up to the size that we wanted. So we were shooting for a size 7, so now we're right on that spot. Our ring is now perfectly round, and we're all good to go.
Alright, that's all we have for you today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit like and subscribe to follow us for more. We have new videos coming out every single week. If you have any questions for me regarding what we covered, make sure you comment below and we'll get back to you and give you some assistance. And have a great rest of your day. Bye!